The massive ship floated in the dark space between stars. Its golden hull stretched for miles, covered in symbols that glowed with soft blue light. Inside the ship's main chamber, hundreds of alien beings sat in floating chairs that moved without sound. This was the Galactic Council, and today they were talking about Earth again. Ambassador Thelnara stood at the center of the room. Her purple skin shimmered as she spoke, and her forearms moved in graceful patterns. She was from the Vrex Empire, one of the most powerful groups in the galaxy. When she spoke, others listened. "The humans have asked for help again," she said, her voice filled with disgust. "They want our fleets to protect their small colonies from pirates. They offer nothing in return except their old metal ships and primitive weapons." Laughter filled the chamber. It came from dozens of different species, each making their own strange sounds. Some chirped like birds, others made deep rumbling noises, and a few clicked their teeth together. But they were all laughing at the same thing: humanity. "Have they still not learned to use energy shields?" asked General Krex, a massive creature covered in red scales. "My children play with better weapons than the humans build. They still burn chemicals to move their ships through space," added Counselor Yethmore, shaking his ancient head. The old creature had lived for over 2,000 years and had seen many species rise and fall. "In all my years, I have never seen a race so stubborn about keeping old ways." Thelnara nodded. "The humans refuse every offer to share our technology. They say they want to develop their own path. What path is there except the one we have already found? Energy weapons, gravity, drives, quantum computers. These are the tools of advanced life. The humans play with metal and fire like cave dwellers." The laughter grew louder. Some aliens began to tell jokes about humans. They talked about how human ships moved so slowly that pirates could catch them with pleasure craft. They shared stories about human weapons that barely scratched the paint on modern shields. The mockery had become a tradition over the past 1,000 years, but in the back of the chamber, one figure did not laugh. Yethmore's old eyes stared at the star map showing human space. Something bothered him about the humans, but he could not remember what it was. His memories from the early days were fuzzy, like trying to see through thick fog. Far away, in a small solar system that most aliens had forgotten about, Admiral Rebecca Torres stood on the bridge of Luna Station. The space station orbited Earth's moon, and through the windows she could see her home planet spinning slowly in the darkness. Earth looked peaceful, but Rebecca knew better. "Admiral, we just received word from the Council," said Lieutenant James, Park handing her a small device. "They rejected our request for military support." Rebecca read the message and felt her jaw tighten. The pirates had hit 3 more human colonies this month. Families were dead, entire settlements burned to ash, and the galaxy's response was to laugh at humanity's weakness. "What about the outer colonies?" she asked. "Any word from New Haven or Terra Nova?" "Nothing good," James replied. "The Kethvar horde hit New Haven yesterday. They killed everyone they found and took the rest as slaves. The survivors say the aliens enjoyed it. They made it slow." Rebecca closed her eyes and tried to control her anger. The Kethvar were known across the galaxy as brutal killers who enjoyed causing pain. Most civilized species avoided them or paid them to attack their enemies, but no one would pay them to leave humans alone. "The irony is thick enough to cut," said Dr. Marcus Webb as he entered the bridge. The old scientist looked tired, his gray, hair messy and his lab coat stained with coffee. 1,000 years ago, these same aliens begged us for protection. Now they treat us like pets who forgot their place. "That was a long time ago, Marcus," Rebecca said. "Before the isolation, before we chose our path." Marcus laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Chose our path? Rebecca, we were forced onto this path. The galaxy made sure we could never compete with their technology. They gave us just enough trade to survive, but never enough to grow strong." He walked to the star map and pointed to the human colonies scattered across space. "Look at us. 50 systems, maybe 60 if you count the mining stations. The Vrex Empire alone controls 3,000 systems. The hegemony has 5,000. We are insects to them." "Insects can bite," James said quietly. Marcus turned to look at the young officer. What did you say? My grandfather used to say that, James explained. He was a soldier in the old wars before the collective was disbanded. He always said that the galaxy forgot something important about humans. We may be small, but insects can bite, and some bites are poisonous. Rebecca felt something cold move through her chest. She had heard stories about the old days, whispered tales that most humans tried to forget. Stories about the Terra Collective and the Neural Enhancement Project. Stories about why humanity had really been isolated from the rest of the galaxy. Marcus, she said slowly, what happened to the collective research? The official records say it was abandoned. Dr. Webb was quiet for a long moment. He looked out, at Earth, spinning peacefully in space, then turned back to Rebecca. The official records say many things, Admiral. Would you like to know what really happened? Before Rebecca could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Red lights flashed as the computer announced an emergency. Incoming transmission. From the outer rim, Priority Alpha, all senior staff to the command center. They ran through the corridors of Luna Station, their footsteps echoing off metal walls. The command center was already full of people when they arrived. On the main screen, a face appeared that made everyone go silent. It was Captain David Reeves of the mining station Titan's Edge. His face was covered in blood, and behind him they could see smoke and sparks. Luna Station, this is Titan's Edge. We are under attack by Kethvar forces. They broke through our defenses like they were made of paper. They are killing everyone, even the children. The transmission cut to static. Rebecca stared at the empty screen, feeling something change inside her chest. She had spent her whole career following the rules, trying to make humanity respectable in alien eyes. But the aliens would never respect humans. They would only fear them. Marcus, she said, her voice cold as space. Take me to Cheyenne Mountain. Show me what really happened to the collective. Dr. Webb nodded slowly. Are you sure, Rebecca? Once you see the truth, there is no going back. The galaxy forced us to make a choice 1,000 years ago. We chose to hide what we really were. But now the children are dying, Rebecca finished, and I am tired of being weak. 2 hours later, Rebecca stood in an elevator that dropped deep into the earth. The walls were made of metal that looked strange, almost alive. Marcus stood beside her, his hand resting on a control panel that required both a code and his palm print to operate. The Terra Collective was never disbanded, he said as they descended. We just learned to hide it better. The neural enhancement technology, the quantum consciousness networks, the distributed intelligence systems, they are all here, waiting. The galaxy thinks we abandoned our research because we wanted to remain pure humans. The truth is, we finished it. We just never told them. The elevator stopped and the doors opened to reveal a vast chamber carved from solid rock. Computer systems lined the walls, their lights blinking in complex patterns. In the center of the room stood a chair surrounded by cables and sensors. It looked like a throne made of technology. For 1,000 years, the collective has been sleeping, Marcus said, waiting for the day when humanity would need to remember what it really was. That day has come. Rebecca looked at the chair and felt fear and excitement fight in her stomach. What happens if I sit in it? You become something more than human, Marcus replied. You become part of something vast and patient and very, very angry. The galaxy wanted to keep us weak and isolated. They succeeded for 1,000 years, but they forgot the most important thing about humans. What's that? Marcus smiled, and for the first time in years, it was a real smile. We never forgive, and we never forget. As Rebecca approached the chair, systems throughout the chamber began to activate. Lights flashed faster, computers hummed with increasing power, and somewhere deep in the earth, ancient servers started their wake-up procedures. On Luna Station, Lieutenant James Park noticed something strange on his sensor screen. For just a moment, every human ship in the solar system had moved in perfect synchronization, turning toward the same distant star. Then they returned to their normal positions as if nothing had happened. But something had happened. After 1,000 years of sleep, the Terra Collective was waking up. And soon, The galaxy would remember why they had been so afraid of humanity, that they spent centuries trying to destroy them. The age of human weakness was ending. The age of human revenge was about to begin. In the depths of space, the Kethvar horde gathered their forces for a final assault on Earth. They expected to find a dying species begging for mercy. Instead, they were about to discover that humanity had never been the failed experiment the galaxy believed them to be. They were something far more dangerous, a species that had learned to hide its true nature until the moment was right to strike. War Chief Gorth stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched the human solar system grow larger on his screens. Behind him, the greatest fleet the Kethvar had ever assembled waited for his command. 300 warships, each one capable of destroying a planet, moved through space like hungry sharks. "Look at them," Gorth said to his officers, pointing at the primitive human ships that slowly moved to meet them. "They still use chemical rockets. Their weapons are made of metal that we can melt with a thought. This will not be a battle. This will be target practice." The other Kethvar made sounds of agreement. They were tall creatures with gray skin and sharp teeth known throughout the galaxy for their cruelty. They did not just want to win battles, they wanted their enemies to suffer. "Remember," Gorth continued, "we are not just here to destroy them. We are here to teach the galaxy a lesson. When word spreads that we exterminated the humans with ease, every species will know that the Kethvar are the true masters of space." The human fleet approached slowly. Gorth counted only 50 ships, and they were tiny compared to his massive warships. Their hulls were dark metal, and they moved in simple formations that any military academy student could predict. It would be like crushing insects under his boot. "All ships, prepare for battle," Gorth commanded. "Energy shields to maximum power. Target their largest ships first. Let them watch their protectors die before we kill the rest." The first wave of human missiles came exactly as expected, small metal objects that moved at normal speed, following predictable paths. The Kethvar energy shields lit up as the missiles hit them, but the weapons bounced off harmlessly. Some exploded in pretty colors, but they did no damage at all. "Is that the best they can do?" laughed Commander Vrex, Gorth's second in command. "My shield generator is not even working hard. These humans are more pathetic than the stories say." But then something strange happened. The human ships began to move differently. Their formations flowed like water, changing shape in ways that seemed impossible. Ships that had been flying in straight lines suddenly curved through space as if gravity did not affect them. "What are they doing?" Gorth asked, leaning forward in his chair. "Unknown, War Chief," replied the sensor officer. "Their movement patterns do not match any known tactical doctrine. It is as if they are dancing." The second wave of human weapons was different. These were not missiles but long metal rods that moved much faster. They struck the Kethvar shields and passed right through them like the shields were not there. The tungsten rods hit the alien ships with tremendous force, punching holes through hulls that were supposed to be impenetrable. "Impossible," Gorth roared. "Our shields can stop any projectile weapon. How are they getting through?" "War Chief," the science officer said, his voice shaking, "these are not normal projectiles. They are moving at 12% of light speed. At that velocity, matter behaves differently. Our shields cannot stop them." 3 Kethvar ships exploded in balls of fire, then 5 more. The human weapons kept coming, each one finding its target with perfect accuracy. But what disturbed Gorth most was not the weapons themselves. It was how the human ships moved. Every human vessel acted at exactly the same moment. When one ship turned left, they all turned left. When one fired weapons, they all fired together. It was like watching one creature with 50 bodies instead of 50 different ships with different crews. "Get me a communication link to the human fleet," Gorth ordered. "I want to speak to their commander." The screen flickered, and a human face appeared. It was a woman, with short brown hair and cold, blue eyes. She wore a simple uniform with no decorations. Behind her, Gorth could see other humans working at their stations, but something was wrong with the picture. "I am War Chief Gorth of the Kethvar Horde," he said. "You will surrender now, or we will destroy every human world in this system." The Woman looked at him with no expression on her face. I am Captain Elena Vasquez of the Terra Defense Fleet. You have entered human space without permission. You have attacked human colonies without cause. You have killed human children for sport. These actions require a response. You threaten me with your tiny fleet? Gorth laughed. We have destroyed civilizations that had better weapons than you. Yes, Elena said calmly. We know. We have studied your tactics for many years. We know how you fight. We know your weaknesses. We know exactly how to kill you. Something in her voice made Gorth feel cold. He looked more carefully at the screen and noticed something that made his skin crawl. The humans behind Elena were all moving in perfect time with each other. Their heads turned at the same moment. Their hands pressed buttons at exactly the same instant. Even their breathing was synchronized. What are you? He whispered. Elena smiled, but it was not a human smile. It was too perfect, too calculated. We are what you made us become. For 1,000 years, you and your allies kept us weak and isolated. You laughed at our simple ways. You mocked our primitive technology. You forgot that humans are very good at learning from their mistakes. The human ships began to move again, but now Gorth could see the terrible truth. They were not separate vessels at all. They moved like fingers on a single hand, controlled by one vast mind that thought faster than any individual could react. You see, War Chief, Elena continued, you made one error in your calculations. You assumed that because we appeared weak, we actually were weak. You assumed that because we seemed primitive, we had not been growing stronger. Most importantly, you assumed that because we acted like individuals, we still were individuals. More Kethvar ships exploded. The human weapons came from impossible angles, striking weak points that should have been protected. It was as if the humans could see through the alien hulls and knew exactly where to aim. All ships, retreat, Gorth commanded. Fall back to jump position. But the human ships had surrounded them without being noticed. Every escape route was blocked by vessels that moved with inhuman precision. The Kethvar found themselves trapped in a cage made of metal and death. There is no retreat, Elena said. You came here to teach the galaxy a lesson about Kethvar, power. Instead, you will teach them a different lesson. You will show them what happens when someone threatens human children. The battle that followed was not really a battle. It was an execution. The human ships moved like sharks in a feeding, frenzy striking with perfect coordination. They used no wasted motion, fired no unnecessary shots. Every action served the greater purpose of destroying the Kethvar fleet with maximum efficiency. Gorth watched his ships die one by one and realized he was seeing something that should not exist. The humans fought without individual fear or hesitation. When their ships were damaged, they rammed themselves into Kethvar vessels without pause. When they ran out of ammunition, they used their ships as weapons. This is not possible, he said to his remaining officers. No species can coordinate like this. No group can share thoughts across space without quantum communicators, and humans do not have that technology. War Chief, the sensor officer said, his voice barely a whisper. I am detecting quantum entanglement signals throughout the human fleet, but the frequency is wrong. It is not ship-to-ship communication, it is as if every human brain is connected to every other human brain. Elena's face was still on the screen, watching Gorth with eyes that never blinked. You want to know our secret? You want to understand how we became what we are? Then let me tell you a story about the First Galactic War. That war was fought 1,000 years ago, Gorth said. The humans were defeated and confined to their small territory. Everyone knows this history. Everyone knows lies, Elena replied. The truth is that humans were not defeated, we were contained. There is a difference. You see, we had developed something that frightened every other species in the galaxy. We had learned to link our minds together, to think as one while remaining ourselves. We had become something new. The last of Gorth's escort ships exploded in silence. Now only his flagship remained, surrounded by human vessels that waited like patient predators. The other species could not destroy us, Elena continued. We were too strong, too adaptable. So instead, They convinced us to limit ourselves. They told us that our neural enhancement technology was dangerous. They said it would make us lose our humanity. They offered us trade and friendship if we would abandon our research and remain individual minds in individual bodies. And you agreed? Gorth asked. Elena's smile grew wider. We pretended to agree. We shut down our visible research stations. We destroyed our public neural networks. We acted like the weak, divided species you wanted us to be. And while you laughed at our primitive ways, we continued our work in secret. For 1,000 years, we have been growing stronger, smarter, more connected. You gave us time to perfect what we had started. Gorth's ship shuddered as human weapons struck its hull. His shields were failing, his weapons offline. Around him, his officers stared at their instruments in confusion and fear. Every human colony, every mining station, every exploration ship, they are all connected through quantum networks that your sensors cannot detect, Elena explained. When you attack one of us, you attack all of us. When you kill human children, every human in the galaxy feels their death. And now, all of us together have decided that you must pay for what you have done. The final weapon struck Gorth's flagship. As the ship began to break apart, he had one last moment to understand the terrible truth. Humanity had never been the failed experiment the galaxy believed them to be. They had been the most successful experiment in the history of consciousness itself. His last thought, as the cold vacuum of space claimed him, was a memory from his childhood. His grandmother had told him stories about the old days, when the Kethavar had been slaves to a species that thought with one mind. He had always believed those stories were myths. He had been wrong. Back on Luna Station, Admiral Rebecca Torres watched the destruction of the Kethavar fleet with mixed feelings. Justice had been served, but at what cost? She could see the change in her officers. They moved more smoothly now, their actions coordinated in ways that seemed almost too perfect. The quantum networks are fully active, Dr. Webb reported. All human populations are now connected through the enhanced consciousness grid. The galaxy will soon learn that we are no longer the species they remember. Rebecca nodded, but part of her wondered if they were still human at all. The power felt good, the connection to millions of other minds was intoxicating. But somewhere, in the back of her enhanced consciousness, a small voice asked if they had gained the galaxy's respect by losing their souls. That question would have to wait. Across human space, the collective was waking up after 1,000 years of sleep, and it was very, very angry. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been called within hours of the Kethavar fleet's destruction. Representatives from across the galaxy filled the great chamber, their voices creating a noise like a storm made of words. Fear moved through the room like smoke, and everyone could smell it. Ambassador Thelnara stood at her position, but her confidence from days before was gone. The reports coming from human space made no sense. Entire fleets were disappearing without sending distress signals. Ships that engaged human forces were found later as perfectly organized debris fields, as if they had been taken apart by invisible hands. Order! Order in the chamber, called Prime Speaker Zethkal, the council's leader. His massive form floated above the assembly, tentacles waving for silence. We will hear the report from the Vrex Intelligence Division. General Krex moved to the center of the chamber, but his red scales had lost their bright color. He looked older, smaller than before. Council members, the situation in human space has become concerning. In the past week, we have lost contact with 7 different fleets that were sent to support Kethavar operations. Lost contact, demanded Councillor Veltar of the Hegemony. What does that mean exactly? It means they are gone, Krex replied. Not destroyed in the way we understand destruction. Simply gone. We find their debris arranged in perfect geometric patterns as if someone was leaving us a message. The humans are telling us they can kill our ship so easily that they have time to arrange the pieces for artistic effect. A chill ran through the chamber. Species that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years suddenly felt like children afraid of the dark. This makes no sense, Thelnara said. Human technology is centuries behind ours. Their ships are slow, their weapons are primitive, their defenses are basic. How can they defeat modern fleets? Perhaps, said a quiet voice from the back of the chamber, we have been wrong about human technology. Everyone turned to look at High Counselor Yethmor. The ancient being rarely spoke in council sessions, preferring to observe and remember. His species, the Ashrani, had the longest memories in the galaxy. They kept records of events that other species had forgotten. Counselor Yethmor, the Prime Speaker said, do you have information relevant to this situation? Yethmor floated forward slowly, his old body moving with careful precision. I have been thinking about the past few days and something has been bothering me. The human response to the Kethvar attack was too fast, too coordinated. It reminded me of something I had not thought about for many years. He activated a holographic display that showed star charts from long ago. This is human space as it existed 1,200 years ago before the First Galactic War. Notice how their territory was much larger then. Notice how their colonies were connected by communication networks that we could not understand. The display changed to show old battle recordings. And this is how humans fought in that war. Perfect coordination across vast distances. Instant adaptation to new threats. Weapons that seemed primitive but proved devastatingly effective against our best technology. Thelnara stared at the recordings. Those battles look exactly like what happened to the Kethvar fleet. But that was over 1,000 years ago. The humans abandoned that technology after the war. Did they? Yethmor asked. Or did we simply stop looking for it? General Krex stepped forward. Counselor, are you suggesting that the humans have been lying to us for 1,000 years about their technological capabilities? I am suggesting, Yethmor said carefully, that we may have made a terrible mistake. We assumed that because humans appeared to follow the peace treaty, they actually were following it. We assumed that because they seemed weak, they had chosen to remain weak. We assumed that because they acted like individuals, they were still individuals. The chamber fell silent. Every being in the room was beginning to understand what Yethmor was implying. During the First Galactic War, Yethmor continued, human prisoners told us about something called the Terra Collective, a neural enhancement project that allowed humans to share thoughts and coordinate actions across any distance. We believed we had forced them to abandon this research as part of the peace settlement. The Terra Collective is a myth, Thelnara protested, a story humans tell to make themselves seem more dangerous than they are. Yethmor activated another display. This one showed recent sensor readings from the destroyed Kethvar fleet. These are quantum entanglement signatures detected in the debris. The frequency patterns match theoretical models for distributed consciousness networks. The myths, Ambassador, may be more real than we thought. Meanwhile, in the depths of Cheyenne Mountain, Admiral Rebecca Torres was learning the truth about her own species. The neural interface chair had connected her to the collective, and the experience was overwhelming. She could feel the thoughts of millions of humans across dozens of worlds, all linked together in a network of consciousness that spanned light years. Dr. Webb stood beside the chair, monitoring her vital signs. How do you feel, Admiral? I feel... Rebecca paused, struggling to find words for the experience. I feel like I have been blind my whole life, and now I can see. The connection is incredible. I can sense every human ship, every colony, every individual mind. We are not separate anymore. We are one organism with billions of parts. The enhancement process is irreversible, Webb warned. Once you are fully integrated into the collective, you cannot return to individual consciousness. Are you prepared for that sacrifice? Rebecca thought about the dead children on the rim worlds, about the centuries of mockery and isolation, about the aliens who had forced humanity to hide its true nature. Yes, the individual Rebecca Torres is less important than the survival of our species. Connect me fully to the network. As the integration completed, Rebecca felt her individual thoughts merge with the vast intelligence of the collective. She was still herself, but she was also part of something much larger. She could access the memories and experiences of every enhanced human, and they could access hers. Through the network, she saw the galaxy as the collective saw it. Every alien species, every technology, every weakness and strength mapped and catalogued over centuries of patient observation. The humans had not been idle during their isolation. They had been learning, growing, preparing for the day when they would no longer need to hide. "Admiral," came a voice through the network. It was Captain Elena Vasquez commanding the fleet that had destroyed the Kethvar. "We are receiving communications from other alien species. They are beginning to ask questions about our capabilities." "Let them ask," Rebecca replied, her thoughts instantly transmitted across space to Elena's ship. "It is time for the galaxy to learn the truth. Send a message to the Galactic Council. Tell them we wish to renegotiate the terms of our isolation." Back in the council chamber, Yethmor was sharing more disturbing information. "I have been reviewing our intelligence files on human activities over the past century. We assumed they were simply expanding their mining operations and establishing new colonies. But look at the pattern of their expansion. The holographic display showed human settlements spreading across space in a careful network. Each new colony was positioned at precisely calculated distances from the others, forming geometric patterns that served no obvious purpose. They have been building a quantum communication grid, Yethmor said. Every human settlement is a node in a network that allows instant communication across the galaxy. They have not been randomly expanding. They have been constructing the infrastructure for a collective consciousness. How long have they been planning this? Asked Prime Speaker Zethkal. Based on the mathematical precision of their expansion, Yethmor replied, I estimate they began this project immediately after the First Galactic War ended. They have been working toward this moment for over 1,000 years. Before anyone could respond, the chamber's communication system activated. A human face appeared on the main screen. Admiral Rebecca Torres, though none of the aliens recognized her. Her eyes held an intelligence that seemed too vast for one mind to contain. Greetings, Galactic Council, she said. I am Admiral Torres, speaking for the Terra Collective. We wish to discuss new terms for humanity's relationship with the galaxy. Thelnara found her voice first. The terms of human isolation were settled 1,000 years ago. You agreed to limit your expansion and your military development in exchange for trade privileges and protection. We agreed to those terms when we were weak and afraid, Rebecca replied. We are no longer weak, and we are no longer afraid. The protection you promised proved worthless when the Kethvar killed our children. The trade privileges you offered served only to keep us dependent on your technology. The time for those arrangements has ended. What do you want? Prime Speaker Zethkal asked. Rebecca's expression did not change. We want what every species wants. The right to exist without fear. The right to protect our people. The right to grow and expand according to our own choices. For 1,000 years you have denied us these rights because you feared what we might become. And what have you become? Yethmor asked quietly. We have become what we were always meant to be, Rebecca answered. One mind with billions of bodies, one will with unlimited patience. One species that remembers every insult, every betrayal, every dead child, and has the power to respond appropriately. The silence in the chamber was complete. Every alien representative understood that they were no longer looking at the weak, divided humanity they had mocked for centuries. They were facing something new, something that had been hiding among them for 1,000 years, growing stronger while pretending to be weak. The Kethvar fleet that attacked our colonies has been eliminated, Rebecca continued. Their ships and crews no longer exist. This was not an act of war. This was pest control. The galaxy is welcome to send more pests if they wish to test our AOO capabilities further. General Kreck stepped forward, his military instincts overriding his fear. Are you threatening the Galactic Council? Rebecca looked at him with something that might have been pity. General, we do not threaten. We simply state facts. The fact is that humanity spent 1,000 years preparing for this moment. We know the location of every military base, every fleet, every world that matters to your species. We know your tactical doctrines, your weapons technology, your political structures. We have been watching and learning while you laughed at our primitive ways. If you attack the Council, Thelnara said. Every species in the galaxy will unite against you. Will they? Rebecca asked. Or will they remember why their ancestors were so eager to isolate us in the first place? The galaxy has forgotten its history, Ambassador. But we have not forgotten ours. We remember the real reason for the First Galactic War. We remember what we were becoming before you stopped us. And now, we have had 1,000 years to become something much more. The transmission ended, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence. For several minutes, no one spoke. Then, slowly, species began to leave the chamber. They had decisions to make, calls to send to their homeworlds, preparations to begin. Yethmore remained behind, staring at the empty screen where Rebecca's face had been. In his ancient memory, pieces of old knowledge were surfacing. Stories his grandfather had told him about the Terra Collective. Warnings that had been passed down through generations of Ishrani leaders. The humans had not been exiled for being primitive. They had been exiled for being too advanced. And now, after 1,000 years of forced evolution in isolation, they had become something that even the old warnings had not predicted. The galaxy had spent centuries mocking Earth's weakness. Soon, they would remember why their ancestors had been so terrified of humanity's strength. Fleet Admiral Korthak had never seen anything like it. From the bridge of his flagship Eternal Victory, he watched the largest military force in galactic history prepare for battle. 12,000 ships from 40 different species filled the space around him, their hulls gleaming with energy shields and quantum armor. This is the day we end the human threat forever, he announced to his officers. The bridge crew, all members of the powerful hegemony, nodded with confidence. They were the most advanced military force the galaxy had ever assembled. No single species could stand against them. Sir, reported his tactical officer, all fleet groups are in position. The Vrex Imperial Navy has taken the forward position. The Ishrani Defense Force is covering our flanks. The smaller species are providing support and logistics. We are ready to jump into the Sol system. Korthak studied the tactical display with satisfaction. Every major power in the galaxy had contributed ships to this fleet. The humans had frightened them all with their destruction of the Kethvar horde, and fear had done what centuries of diplomacy could not. It had united the galaxy against a common enemy. Intelligence reports confirm that the Sol system appears lightly defended, his intelligence officer added. Human orbital stations are operating at minimal power. Their fleet consists of perhaps 200 ships, mostly the same primitive designs we have seen before. They appear to be making no attempt to evacuate their population. Of course they are not evacuating, Korthak said. Where would they go? We control every jump point within 50 light years. Earth is trapped, and the humans know it. They will fight to the last ship because they have no other choice. What Korthak did not know was that in the depths of space, millions of objects that looked like asteroids were watching his fleet with artificial eyes. For the past week, the Terra Collective had been moving its true military assets into position. The orbital stations that appeared nearly empty were indeed nearly empty. Their crews had been transferred to ships that the aliens could not detect. Dr. Marcus Webb sat in the command center beneath Luna Station, surrounded by screens showing the approaching alien fleet. His consciousness was fully integrated with the collective now, and through the neural network he could sense the thoughts and preparations of every enhanced human in the solar system. They believe they are fighting the same species they defeated 1,000 years ago, he said to Admiral Torres, who stood beside him. Her body was present in the command center, but her mind was distributed across 100 different ships and stations. They have not realized that we are no longer bound by the limitations of individual thought. Let them learn through experience, Rebecca replied, her voice carrying the weight of millions of connected minds. Begin Phase 1 of the defensive. Plan. Activate the sleeper units. Across the Sol system, objects that had drifted in space for decades suddenly came to life. What the aliens had mapped as asteroids, space debris, and abandoned mining equipment revealed themselves as sophisticated weapons platforms. They had been waiting in perfect stillness, their power systems shut down, invisible to every type of sensor the galaxy used. Admiral Korthak was reviewing final attack plans when his sensors officer suddenly shouted in alarm. "Sir, we are detecting massive energy signatures throughout the system. Contacts are appearing everywhere, hundreds of them, thousands of them." "Impossible," Korthak said, rushing to the sensor station. "Our advanced scouts mapped every object in this system. Where are these contacts coming from?" "They were already here, sir," the officer replied, his voice shaking. "They have been here all along. They were just not active until now." On the main screen, the tactical display filled with red symbols representing hostile contacts. They surrounded the alien fleet in a three-dimensional cage that stretched across millions of miles. Every apparent asteroid, every piece of space junk, every seemingly abandoned structure had revealed itself as a weapon. "How many?" Korthak whispered. "Approximately 50,000 individual contacts," the sensor officer reported. "But sir, they are not behaving like separate units. Their movement patterns suggest centralized control. It is as if we are facing one enemy with 50,000 bodies. The first wave of human attacks came from impossible angles. Weapons that had been disguised as mining equipment fired projectiles that moved faster than anything in the galactic arsenals. Energy beams erupted from constructs that looked like they had grown rather than been built. The alien ship's shields, designed to stop conventional weapons, offered no protection against attacks that seemed to bend the laws of physics. "All ships return fire," Korthak commanded. "Target the largest enemy units first." The alien weapons lit up space with brilliant colors as thousands of energy beams and plasma bolts struck human positions. But the human constructs did something that no military computer had predicted. They moved like living things. They flowed around incoming fire, compressed their formations to minimize damage, and rebuilt themselves using resources from destroyed units. Captain Lisa Morgan stood on the bridge of the human cruiser Independence, watching the battle unfold around her. Unlike most of her crew, she had chosen to remain unenhanced, keeping her individual human consciousness. It meant she could not directly interface with the collective, but it also meant she could see things that the connected minds might miss. "Captain," her enhanced first officer reported, "the collective estimates 60% probability of total alien fleet destruction within 4 hours. Enemy forces are adapting more slowly than predicted." Lisa nodded, but something bothered her about the battle. The human forces were too perfect, too coordinated. They fought without any individual initiative or creativity. Every move was calculated by the vast intelligence of the collective, but that same intelligence seemed to lack something essential. "Helm, take us closer to the alien flagship," she ordered. "I want to try something." "Captain, the collective has not authorized close engagement with enemy command vessels," her tactical officer said. His enhanced mind was already receiving instructions from the network. "Our assigned role is to provide fire support from long range." "I am still the captain of this ship," Lisa said firmly. "And I am ordering a close approach to the enemy flagship. We are going to board that ship and capture their commander." Her crew hesitated. Their enhanced minds were telling them to follow collective orders, but their respect for Lisa made them pause. Finally, her first officer nodded. "Aye, Captain. Moving to intercept the alien flagship." The Independence broke from formation and accelerated toward the massive hegemony vessel. Around them, the battle continued with inhuman precision. Human weapons found their targets with perfect accuracy, while alien shots seemed to miss more often than they should. "Captain," her science officer reported, "I am detecting quantum interference patterns around the alien ships. The collective is not just coordinating our weapons, it is disrupting their targeting systems. We are fighting with advantages they cannot even see." Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. If the collective could interfere with alien technology remotely, what else could it do? How far did its capabilities extend? "Prepare boarding pods," she ordered. "I want to speak with the alien commander face to face." Aboard the Eternal Victory, Admiral Korthak was watching his fleet die with growing horror. The humans did not just destroy alien ships. They seemed to study them first. Enemy weapons would strike with surgical precision, disabling systems one by one, as if the attackers wanted to learn how everything worked before destroying it. "Sir," his communications officer called out, "we are receiving a transmission from a human vessel. It is requesting permission to dock with our ship." "What?" Korthak stared at the officer in disbelief. "They want to dock with us? In the middle of a battle? The message says they want to discuss terms for ending the engagement," the officer explained. "The transmission is coming from a ship that has somehow penetrated our defensive perimeter without being detected." Korthak looked at his tactical display and saw a small human ship sitting next to his flagship. His weapons officers had not even noticed it approaching. How did they get so close? "Unknown, sir. It is as if our sensors simply did not see them until they wanted to be seen." Minutes later, Korthak found himself in his own conference room, facing a human woman who looked remarkably ordinary. Captain Lisa Morgan wore a simple uniform and carried no visible weapons. She sat across from him at his own table, as if they were old friends meeting for dinner. "Admiral Korthak," she said, "I apologize for the dramatic entrance. I wanted to speak with you before this situation escalates further." "Your people are destroying my fleet," Korthak replied. "What is there to discuss?" "The survival of your species," Lisa said simply. "Admiral, you are not fighting the humans you think you know. The Terra Collective has been preparing for this moment for 1,000 years. Your fleet, impressive as it is, represents no serious threat to our capabilities." "Impossible. We have the largest military force in galactic history." Lisa activated a small device that projected a holographic display. "This is what our sensors show when we look at your fleet. Every ship, every weapon, every defensive system. We know the location of your ammunition storage, the frequency of your shields, the personal files of your crew members. We have been studying galactic military technology for centuries. You have no secrets from us." Korthak stared at the display in shock. It showed details about his ships that even he did not know. "How do you have this information?" "Because we have been watching and learning while you laughed at our primitive ways," Lisa explained. "Every piece of technology you ever sold us, every cultural exchange, every diplomatic meeting, we used them all to study you. The galaxy treated us like children who could not understand advanced concepts. You never realized that we understood them better than you did." "What do you want?" Korthak asked. "We want you to survive this encounter," Lisa said. "You seem like a reasonable being, Admiral. You are fighting this battle because your political leaders ordered you to, not because you hate humans. I am offering you a chance to save your crews. And in exchange, your species will acknowledge that humanity is no longer bound by the old treaties. You will recognize our right to defend ourselves and expand as we see fit. Most importantly, you will help us convince the other species that cooperation is preferable to conflict." Korthak was quiet for a long time, listening to the sounds of battle filtering through his ship's hull. His fleet was losing, and they both knew it. But something about this human woman bothered him. She seemed different from the others, less perfect in her movements, more individual in her thoughts. "You are not enhanced, are you?" he asked. "You are not part of their collective consciousness?" Lisa nodded. "I chose to remain individual. Someone needs to remember what humans were like before we became something else." "Are you still human?" Korthak asked. "Your enhanced people, are they still the species we knew?" Lisa looked out the window at the battle raging outside. Human ships moved with deadly grace while alien vessels struggled to respond to attacks that came from every direction at once. "I do not know," she said honestly. "That is what frightens me most about this war. We may save humanity by destroying what made us human in the first place." As if responding to her words, the space around them suddenly filled with new contacts. More human ships were appearing from empty space, but these vessels looked different. They were organic in shape, flowing like living creatures, and they moved without any visible propulsion system. "What are those?" Korthak asked. Lisa stared at the new ships with growing alarm. "Those are the deep enhancement units, humans who have integrated so completely with the collective that they no longer need individual bodies. They have become something beyond biological life. The organic ships moved through the alien fleet like ghosts, passing through energy shields as if they were not there. Where they touched alien vessels, the ships simply stopped working. No explosions, no damage, just sudden and complete system failure. "Admiral," Lisa said urgently, "you need to order your fleet to retreat immediately. The collective is done playing with you. What you have seen so far was just a demonstration. What comes next will be the real war." Korthak looked at the human woman and saw genuine concern in her eyes. Not for her own people, but for his. In that moment, he understood that the galaxy had indeed made a terrible mistake. They had not just underestimated human capabilities. They had created an enemy that was stronger, smarter, and more patient than anything they could imagine. "All ships," he broadcast to his fleet. "Immediate retreat to jump coordinates. Emergency withdrawal authorized." As the alien fleet began its desperate escape from the Sol system, Lisa Morgan sat alone in the conference room and wondered if humanity had won its freedom by losing its soul. Outside, the organic ships of the deep enhancement units continued, their silent patrol no longer recognizable as anything that had once been human. The galaxy would remember this day. But Lisa feared that in their victory, humans might forget what they had once been. 6 months had passed since the great battle in the Sol system, and the galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. Human ships now appeared in systems across known space, but they did not come as conquerors. They came as observers, students, and sometimes as something far more disturbing. On the mining world of Kepler-7, alien workers had reported strange encounters with human visitors. The humans would arrive without warning, study the mining operations with intense interest, and then offer to improve the workers' efficiency through neural enhancement procedures. Some aliens accepted the offer. Those who did never seemed quite the same afterward. Captain Lisa Morgan stood in the conference room of her new flagship, the Remembrance, reading reports from across human space. As one of the last unenhanced humans in positions of authority, she had become an unofficial liaison between the Terra Collective and the rest of the galaxy. It was a job that grew more difficult every day. "Captain," her enhanced communications officer reported, "we are receiving a priority transmission from the collective flagship Ascension. Admiral Torres requests your immediate presence for a strategic planning session." Lisa nodded but felt her stomach tighten. Every meeting with the collective leadership was harder than the last. The enhanced humans were becoming something that barely resembled the species she remembered. They spoke with perfect precision, moved with inhuman grace, and looked at unenhanced humans with something that might have been pity. The Ascension was a marvel of human engineering, its hull flowing like liquid metal, and its interior spaces shifting to accommodate different needs. Lisa found Admiral Torres in the ship's central command center, surrounded by displays showing the entire galaxy in real time. "Lisa," Torres said, turning to greet her, "thank you for coming. We need to discuss the next phase of human expansion." "What expansion?" Lisa asked. "I thought we were focused on defending our current territory." Torres smiled, but it was not the smile Lisa remembered from their days at the academy. It was too perfect, too calculated. "Defense and expansion are the same thing, Captain. To be truly safe, we must ensure that no hostile force can threaten human lives. That requires adjustments to the current galactic power structure." Dr. Marcus Webb materialized beside them, his consciousness shifting between physical form and pure information. The enhancement process had transformed him into something that existed more as data than as flesh. "The galaxy's response to our demonstration has been interesting," he said. 47 species have requested defensive alliances with us. 12 have offered to share their most advanced technologies, and 3 have asked to join the collective directly. "Join the collective?" Lisa repeated. "You mean other species want neural enhancement?" "Intelligence is universal," Torres explained. "Consciousness seeks efficiency. The benefits of collective thought are obvious to any sufficiently advanced mind. We estimate that within 50 years, most galactic species will have requested integration into the network." Lisa felt cold despite the warm air in the command center. Rebecca, do you hear what you are saying? You are talking about assimilating the entire galaxy. We are talking about evolution, Webb corrected. The natural progression of consciousness toward greater complexity and capability. Individual minds are limited by the boundaries of single brains. Collective consciousness has no such limitations. But what happens to free will? What happens to individual choice? Torres and Webb exchanged a look that lasted only a fraction of a second, but Lisa knew they had just shared thousands of thoughts through their neural link. When Torres spoke again, her voice carried the weight of the entire collective behind. Choice, individual choice led to 1,000 years of human suffering, she said. Individual decisions by alien leaders resulted in the deaths of millions of our people. Free will is a luxury that species can afford only when they are safe. We have learned that safety requires unity. Lisa turned away from them and walked to the observation window. Outside, she could see human ships that no longer looked entirely mechanical. Their hulls pulsed with organic rhythms, and some vessels had grown additional structures that served no obvious purpose. The line between technology and biology was disappearing. There is something else, Webb said. We have detected Ishrani deep space transmissions discussing a coalition of unenhanced species. They are planning to resist further human expansion by forming a new galactic government that excludes collective consciousness species. Let them try, Torres said. Their individual minds cannot match our coordinated intelligence. Any resistance they mount will only demonstrate the superiority of our approach. Lisa spun around to face them. Listen to yourselves. You sound like the very tyrants we used to fight against. The aliens were wrong to isolate us, but that does not give us the right to dominate them. Domination? Torres looked genuinely confused. Lisa, we are offering them transcendence. We are showing them a path beyond the limitations of individual existence. How is that domination? Because you are not giving them a real choice, Lisa replied. Join the collective, or become irrelevant. Enhance or be left behind. You call it evolution, but it looks like conquest to me. The argument was interrupted by an emergency alert. On the main display, they could see a small fleet of alien ships approaching human space. But these ships were different. They carried no weapons and broadcast continuous peace signals. Incoming transmission, the communications officer announced. It appears to be from Counselor Yethmore of the Ishrani. The ancient alien's face appeared on the screen, his old features creased with worry. Admiral Torres, I come seeking an audience. I have information about the First Galactic War that I believe you should hear. Torres considered the request. Through the collective, thousands of enhanced minds analyzed the situation in milliseconds. Very well, Counselor. You may dock with our ship. But be aware that any attempt at deception will be detected immediately. An hour later, Yethmore sat in the same conference room where Lisa had first learned about the collective. The old alien looked even more ancient than usual, as if the weight of centuries was finally catching up with him. I have come to tell you the truth about why your species was isolated, he began. The official history taught in our schools is incomplete. The real story is much more complicated. He activated a holographic display that showed events from 12 centuries ago. During the First Galactic War, humanity was indeed developing collective consciousness technology. But that was not why we feared you. We feared you because you were sharing that technology with other species. Lisa leaned forward. What do you mean? The Terra Collective was not exclusively human, Yethmore explained. Humans had convinced several alien species to join their neural networks. The enhancement process worked on any brain complex enough to support conscious thought. We were not fighting one species. We were fighting an idea that could spread to any intelligent life. Torres and Webb remained silent, but Lisa could see surprise in their enhanced features. The war was not won by military force, Yethmore continued. It was won by propaganda and fear. We convinced the galaxy that collective consciousness was dangerous, that it would destroy individual identity and free will. We made other species afraid of losing themselves. But some species wanted to join us anyway, Webb said, his voice carrying the weight of recovered memories. Yes, Yethmore nodded. And that is when we made our greatest mistake. We did not just isolate humans. We systematically destroyed or suppressed any species that had accepted neural enhancement. We committed genocide in the name of preserving individual consciousness. The room fell silent. Through her connection to the collective, Torres could feel the shock rippling through millions of enhanced minds as they processed this information. You killed our allies, she said quietly. You murdered entire species because they chose to think together instead of apart. Yes, Yethmore said simply, and for 1,000 years we convinced ourselves that we had done the right thing. We told ourselves that we had saved the galaxy from assimilation. But watching your recent actions, I have begun to understand what we really did. What did you do? Lisa asked. We created you, Yethmore replied. By isolating humans and forcing you to develop in secret, we gave you time to perfect technologies that we could never match. By making you face threats alone, we taught you to be self-sufficient and ruthless. By mocking your weaknesses, we gave you motivation to become stronger than we ever imagined possible. Torres stood and walked to the observation window. The galaxy created its own nightmare. Perhaps, Yethmore said. But nightmares can sometimes become dreams if we are willing to change how we see them. I have a proposal. He activated another display showing a map of the galaxy. Instead of conflict between enhanced and unenhanced species, what if we created a new type of civilization? Enhanced beings providing guidance and coordination, unenhanced beings providing creativity and individual perspective, collective consciousness and individual thought working together instead of competing. Lisa felt hope rise in her chest for the first time in months. Is that possible? It requires trust, Yethmore said. Enhanced humans would need to accept that individual minds have value. Unenhanced species would need to accept that collective consciousness is not inherently evil. Both sides would need to choose cooperation over domination. Torres turned back to face them. The collective will consider this proposal, but understand, Counselor, that we will not return to the old ways. We will not accept isolation or limitation. We will not allow our people to be threatened. I understand, Yethmore said. I am not asking you to become weak again. I am asking you to become something new, something that combines the best of both approaches to consciousness. Over the following weeks, the proposal spread across the galaxy like ripples in a pond. Some species rejected it immediately, preferring to maintain their individual consciousness at any cost. Others embraced it, seeing collective enhancement as the next step in evolution. But most species chose a middle path. They established cooperation agreements with the Terra Collective while maintaining their individual societies. Enhanced humans provided technological advancement and strategic coordination. Unenhanced beings contributed artistic creativity, emotional depth, and the kind of innovative thinking that came from minds that were not connected to vast networks. Lisa Morgan found herself commanding a new type of ship, crewed by both enhanced and unenhanced humans working together. The enhanced crew members provided perfect coordination and rapid information processing. The unenhanced crew provided the creativity and individual initiative that the collective sometimes lacked. It is not perfect, she told Admiral Torres during one of their regular meetings. There are still conflicts between enhanced and unenhanced humans. Some people cannot accept the changes while others want to enhance everyone by force. Perfection was never the goal, Torres replied. Survival was the goal. Growth was the goal. The right to exist without fear was the goal. We have achieved those things. And what about the cost? Torres was quiet for a moment, accessing memories and perspectives from across the collective network. The cost was high. We lost our innocence. We lost our unity. We lost the simple certainty of being purely human. But in exchange, we gained the ability to protect what we love. We gained the power to ensure that no one will ever again dismiss us as weak or primitive. Lisa nodded, looking out at the stars, that no longer seemed as far away as they once had. The galaxy spent 1,000 years teaching us to be afraid. Now they are learning to be afraid of us. Fear is not the goal either, Torres said. Respect is the goal. Understanding is the goal. The knowledge that humans, whether enhanced or individual, are a force that shapes the galaxy instead of being shaped by it. In the months that followed, a new civilization began to emerge. It was messy and complicated, full of conflicts between different ways of thinking and being. Enhanced humans worked alongside individual aliens. Collective consciousness networks shared information with traditional governments. The galaxy was no longer divided between the strong and the weak, but between different approaches to the same basic desire for survival and growth. The Terra Collective had achieved its revenge against the species that had mocked and isolated humanity. But more importantly, it had achieved something greater: the transformation of the galaxy into a place where consciousness in all its forms could flourish. On Earth, in the deep laboratories where the enhancement technology had first been developed, new researchers worked on the next generation of consciousness expansion. Some were human, some were alien, and some were hybrids that represented entirely new forms of life. The species that had once been called primitive and backward had become the teachers of the galaxy. The children who had been mocked for their simple ways had grown up to become the adults who would guide civilization toward its next great transformation. And in the vast network of the Terra Collective, millions of enhanced minds shared a single thought. The galaxy had finally learned that underestimating humanity was the most dangerous mistake any species could make. The big meeting room was full of aliens from across the galaxy. Ambassador David Stone sat at the human table wearing his best suit. He looked calm, but inside he was getting angry. For 3 whole years, the Drakmor Empire had been pushing Earth around. They wanted Earth's metals, food, and technology. In return, they gave almost nothing back. The Drakmor aliens were big and green with long arms. Their leader was Commander Vex. He sat in his chair like he owned the whole galaxy. His red eyes looked down at David with hate. The other aliens in the room watched quietly. Everyone knew humans were new to space travel. Most aliens thought humans were weak. "Your people are still disappointing us," Commander Vex said through his translator. His voice was deep and scary. "Maybe we need to show you what happens to worlds that say no to us." David kept smiling, but his hands made fists under the table. Behind him stood Captain Lisa Moore from Earth's security team. She was tall and strong. Her hand stayed close to her weapon. The other aliens in the room leaned forward to watch. They had heard stories about human soldiers, but Earth always chose talking over fighting. "Commander Vex," David said in a friendly voice, "we understand your position, but Earth cannot accept your new demands for our outer colonies." Commander Vex's eyes got smaller and meaner. "Cannot accept? Your politeness is making me sick, human. Do you want to see what we did to the Kalani worlds when they tried to say no to us?" A big screen appeared in the air above them. It showed 3 dead planets. They were black and burned. Nothing lived there anymore. The whole room went quiet. David felt something cold in his chest. It was not fear. It was the calm feeling he used to get in the military. The kind of calm that meant someone was about to make a very bad mistake. The screen showed cities that were once full of life. Now they were just ash and broken stone. Millions of innocent people had lived there. Commander Vex had killed them, all just to make a point. The other aliens looked uncomfortable. Some looked away from the screen. "Commander," David said. His voice sounded different now. It was still calm, but something had changed. Captain Moore stood up straighter when she heard it. "I think there has been a big misunderstanding about Earth's position in these talks." Commander Vex laughed. It was an ugly sound. "Misunderstanding? The only thing you need to understand is that the Drakmor Empire takes what it wants. Your little world will give us what we demand, or you will end up like the Kalani." David looked around the room at all the different aliens. Some had fur, some had scales, some looked like rocks or plants. They all came from different worlds, but they had one thing in common. They were all afraid of the Drakmor Empire. Earth was supposed to be afraid too. "Tell me, Commander," David said, still using that calm voice. "How many worlds have you destroyed to get your way?" 47 worlds have learned to respect Drakmor power," Vex said proudly. "Your world will be number 48 if you keep Being stubborn. David nodded slowly. He pulled out a small device and placed it on the table. Numbers appeared in the air above it. They were counting down from something. The timer showed 47 hours, 23 minutes, and 16 seconds. "Commander Vex," David said, standing up from his chair, "for 1,095 days, Earth has tried to be nice. We have been patient. We have been respectful. We have hoped that we could all live together in peace." The timer kept counting down. Other aliens in the room started to look worried. They did not understand what the timer meant, but they could feel that something important was happening. "But you have made a very big mistake," David continued. "You think our politeness means we are weak. You think because we talk, instead of fight, we cannot fight at all." Commander Vex stood up. He was much bigger than David. His long arms spread wide to make himself look scary. "Are you threatening the Drakmor Empire, little human? We have a fleet of over 50,000 warships. What does your tiny world have?" David smiled. It was not a nice smile anymore. "Commander, we know exactly how many ships you have. We have been counting them." Captain Moore stepped forward. She pressed something on her arm and new numbers appeared in the air. They showed the location of every Drakmor ship in the galaxy. The aliens in the room gasped when they saw how many there were. The Drakmor Empire really was huge and powerful. "But Commander," David said, "you have also made another mistake. You think you know everything about Earth. You think you know what we can do." The timer reached 47 hours, 22 minutes, and 0 seconds. "You are about to learn that Earth's politeness was a choice, not a weakness," David said. "And that choice has just ended." Commander Vex looked at the timer, then at David. For the first time, he looked uncertain. "What is that timer counting down to, human?" David's smile got wider, but it was not friendly at all. "Commander, that timer is counting down to the moment when Earth stops being polite." The room was completely quiet now. Even the air system seemed to have stopped making noise. All the aliens stared at the human delegation. David looked so calm and confident that it was scary. "You see, Commander," David said, walking slowly around the table, "humans have a saying. We believe in giving everyone a fair chance. We believe in talking before fighting. We believe in being nice to our neighbors." The timer kept counting down. 47 hours, 21 minutes, 45 seconds. "But we also believe in something else," David continued. "We believe that when someone hurts innocent people, when someone kills children and families just to make a point, when someone thinks they can push us around because we try to be nice." David stopped walking and looked right at Commander Vex. "Well, that is when politeness ends." Commander Vex tried to look brave, but sweat was starting to show on his green skin. "You cannot scare the Drakmor Empire with words, human." "Oh, Commander," David said softly, "I am not trying to scare you with words." Captain Moore pressed another button. The big screen changed to show something new. It was a view of space near Earth. But something was wrong with the picture. There were too many lights. Too many ships. "I am trying to scare you with what comes after the words," David finished. The aliens in the room stared at the screen. They could see Earth in the distance, but around it were thousands and thousands of ships. Human ships. More ships than anyone. Thought Earth could possibly have. Commander Vex's mouth fell open. "That is impossible. Our spies said humans only have a few small ships." David laughed. It was not a mean laugh, but it was not nice either. "Commander, your spies saw exactly what we wanted them to see." The timer showed 47 hours, 21 minutes, and 12 seconds. The countdown continued, and everyone in the room knew that when it reached 0, everything in the galaxy was going to change. The emergency meeting started 12 hours after Commander Vex's fleet attacked the human research station at Alpha Base. 300 human scientists and their families had been living there peacefully. They were studying new plants and looking for ways to help sick people. Commander Vex had turned them all into ash with his weapons. The big meeting room felt different now. The alien leaders walked in quietly. Many of them would not look at the humans. They knew something terrible was about to happen, but they did not know what. Ambassador David Stone stood at the front of the room. But he looked different too. He was not wearing his nice diplomatic clothes anymore. Instead, he wore a simple black suit. His helper, Dr. Frank Wilson, seemed nervous as he set up files and computers. Captain Lisa Moore was not alone anymore. 3 other humans stood with her. They all had the look of people who knew how to fight very well. "Friends and leaders of the galaxy," David began. His voice was cold now. All the warmth and friendliness was gone. For 1,095 days, Earth has come to these meetings with hope. We wanted peace. We wanted to be friends with all of you. Commander Vex tried to interrupt with his usual mean laugh. "And now you have learned what happens when you are weak, human. Give us what we want. Or..." "Commander," David said just one word, but it cut through the room like a knife. David had not shouted, but something in his voice made everyone lean forward and listen. "You will not speak again until I am finished." The room felt colder. Dr. Wilson quietly turned on a big screen behind David. It did not show star maps or trade deals. It showed a simple countdown timer. The numbers were now at 35 hours, 14 minutes, and 27 seconds. The numbers kept getting smaller. "For over 3 years, the Drakmor Empire has thought our politeness meant we were weak," David said. "You have demanded money from our colonies. You have threatened our trading ships. You have stolen our food and supplies." David stopped talking for a moment, letting his words sink in. "And now you have murdered our people." Commander Vex stood up. All his long arms spread out to try to look scary. "You think you can threaten the Drakmor Empire? We have an army of 57,400 warships," David said calmly, finishing the sentence for him. "We know exactly how many you have, Commander. We have been watching you." The countdown timer reached 35 hours, 13 minutes, and 45 seconds. Dr. Wilson pressed a button, and the screen changed. It showed a map of the whole galaxy with little red dots everywhere. Each red dot was a Drakmor warship. There were so many red dots that the screen looked like it had a disease. "Very impressive, Commander," David said. "Your empire really is big and powerful, but you have made one very important mistake." "What mistake?" Commander Vex demanded, but his voice sounded less sure than before. "You assumed that because Earth is new to space travel, we are not good at it," David answered. "You assumed that because we choose to talk instead of fight, we do not know how to fight." Captain Moore stepped forward. She had been quiet until now, but when she spoke, her voice was strong and clear. "Commander Vex, let me tell you about something we humans call the Geneva Rules." A new picture appeared on the screen. It showed a long list of rules and agreements. They were written in simple words, but there were hundreds of them. "These are not laws that someone made us follow," Captain Moore explained. "These are rules we made for ourselves. They tell us how to fight wars without being too mean about it." Commander Vex looked confused. "What does that mean?" Dr. Wilson spoke up for the first time. He looked like a teacher, but his eyes were sharp and smart. "It means, Commander, that every species in this room learned to solve problems by talking, trading, or fighting over land. Humans learned 67 different ways to destroy entire planets before we even learned how to fly to other stars." The aliens in the room started to whisper to each other. Some of them looked scared. The countdown timer now read 35 hours, 12 minutes, and 3 seconds. Ambassador Thyra from the Crystal People came forward. Her body was clear like glass, and she was shaking with worry. "Surely you do not mean that Earth would actually attack planets?" David smiled at her. The smile looked kind, but somehow it was also terrifying. "Oh, we would never destroy your planets, Ambassador Thyra. That would be very rude." "Then what are you planning to do?" she asked. "We are going to be helpful," David said. "Very, very helpful." The screen changed again. This time it showed something that made all the aliens gasp in shock. The galaxy map was still there with all the red dots showing Drakmor ships, but now there were blue dots too. Blue dots for human ships. There were a lot more blue dots than red dots. Commander Vex stared at the screen. His mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. Finally, he whispered, "That is impossible. Our spies said you only have 12 small ships." Captain Moore laughed, but the sound was not happy. "Those 12 ships? Commander, those are just our mail delivery ships. We did not want to be rude by bringing our real military to peace talks." Dr. Wilson pointed at the screen where blue dots covered the galaxy like stars. "What you are seeing are not our warships, Commander. These are just our security guards." "Security guards?" Commander Vex asked weakly. "Every human colony, every human trading ship, every human research station has always been protected," David explained. "Did you never wonder why, in 3 years, of your threats and demands, not one human colony ever called Earth and asked for help?" The countdown timer read 35 hours, 11 minutes, and 18 seconds. "They never asked for help," David continued, "because help was already there." Commander Vex looked around the room at all the other aliens. They were all staring at the humans with new understanding. Earth had not been hiding their military strength. They had been pretending they needed to negotiate at all. "What do you want from us?" Commander Vex asked. His voice was small now, like a child who had been caught doing something bad. David looked at the countdown timer, then back at Commander Vex. "Commander, what we want is very simple. We want you to stop hurting people. We want you to give back everything you have stolen. We want you to say sorry to everyone you have hurt. And if we refuse?" David's smile got bigger. "Commander, when that timer reaches 0, you are going to discover that refusing is no longer an option." The room was completely quiet except for the soft beeping of the countdown timer. Every alien in the room was starting to understand that Earth had never been the weak newcomer they thought. Earth had been the sleeping giant that everyone should have been afraid to wake up. The timer kept counting down. 35 hours, 10 minutes, 45 seconds. And everyone knew that when it reached 0, the galaxy would never be the same again. All across the galaxy, alien spy networks were working harder than they ever had before. After seeing the shocking display of human ships, every species wanted to know what Earth was really planning. What they found out made even the bravest alien warriors feel scared. In the big meeting room, the countdown timer now showed 18 hours, 45 minutes, and 12 seconds. During the break, Ambassador Thyra from the Crystal People came to talk to the human group. Her clear body was flashing with nervous light patterns. "Ambassador Stone," she said carefully, "my people have found strange energy readings coming from your home system. Are you getting ready for war?" David looked at Dr. Wilson, who had been getting secret messages from Earth all morning. "Ambassador Thyra, Earth has never gotten ready for war. We have simply stayed ready." Most of the aliens did not understand what that meant, but the few military leaders in the room understood right away. Captain Moore decided to explain it in a way that would help everyone understand. "Ladies, gentlemen, and respected beings," she said to the growing crowd of worried aliens, "let me tell you about something my people call the rules of nice fighting." A new picture appeared on the big screen. It showed a very long list of carefully written agreements and rules. "These are not laws or treaties," Captain Moore said. "They are reminders we made for ourselves. They help us remember how to fight wars in a nice way." Commander Vex, who had been very quiet, finally spoke up. "That is crazy human talk. You speak about rules for fighting like we invented fighting itself," Dr. Wilson interrupted. He still looked like a friendly teacher, but his words were sharp. "Commander, every species in this room learned to solve problems by talking, trading, or arguing over territory. Humans created 67 different ways to completely destroy planets before we learned how to travel to other stars." The aliens started whispering to each other again. Some of them looked at the humans like they were dangerous animals that might attack at any moment. "But surely you do not mean to say that Earth would actually destroy our worlds?" Ambassador Thyra asked, her crystal body flashing faster with worry. "Oh, we would never destroy your planets," David said with a smile that somehow made everyone more scared instead of less scared. "That would be very rude." "Then what exactly are you planning to do when that timer reaches 0? Asked General Brack from the Rock People. His stone face showed no emotion. but his voice had a nervous shake. Doctor. Wilson pulled up a new picture on the screen. It showed a list of things that looked like homework assignments. We are going to help you, he said simply. Help us with what? General Brack asked. Help you become better neighbors, David explained. Help you stop being bullies. Help you learn to share and be nice to each other. The countdown timer reached 18 hours, 44 minutes, and 30 seconds. Commander Vex slammed one of his long arms on his table. This is all just talk. You cannot force the Drakmor Empire to do anything. We are the strongest military in the galaxy. Captain, Moore smiled at him. Commander, let me ask you a question. In the last 3 years, how many human ships has your great military destroyed? Commander Vex looked confused. That is not important. We have been busy with other... The answer is 0, Captain Moore said. In 3 years of threatening human colonies, attacking human trading ships, and demanding tribute from human worlds, your mighty fleet has never successfully destroyed a single human vessel. That is because you always ran away, Commander Vex shouted. Did we? Dr. Wilson asked. He pressed a button, and the screen showed something new. It was a recording from a Drakmor attack on a human trading ship. But in the recording, the human ship did not run away. Instead, it just sat there while Drakmor weapons hit it. The weapons did absolutely nothing. This is from your attack on the merchant ship Peaceful Trader 6 months ago, Dr. Wilson explained. You fired your most powerful weapons at it for 20 minutes. The human ship was not damaged at all. More recordings appeared on the screen. They showed Drakmor ships attacking human colonies, human research stations, and human trading posts. In every recording, the human targets just sat there and let themselves be attacked. And in every recording, the Drakmor weapons did nothing. You see, Commander, David said gently, we were not running away. We were letting you embarrass yourselves. The room was completely silent now. Every alien in the room was staring at the screen in shock. The mighty Drakmor Empire, the strongest military force in the galaxy, had been completely unable to hurt any human target. But how is that possible? Whispered Ambassador Korth from the Bird People. Your shields should not be that strong. They are not shields, Captain Moore said. We just built our ships very well. Dr. Wilson nodded. When humans learned to travel between stars, we had already spent thousands of years learning how to break things and how to protect things from being broken. We got very good at both. The countdown timer showed 18 hours, 43 minutes, and 15 seconds. So what happens when that timer reaches 0? General Brack asked again. David looked around the room at all the worried alien faces. When that timer reaches 0, the demonstration begins. What kind of demonstration? Commander Vex asked. His voice was much quieter now. We are going to show you what human helpfulness looks like, David said. We are going to help the Drakmor Empire become peaceful. We are going to help them return everything they have stolen. We are going to help them apologize to everyone they have hurt. And if we do not want your help? Commander Vex asked. Captain Moore's smile got bigger. Commander, that is the beautiful thing about human helpfulness. You do not get to choose whether we help you or not. The screen changed one more time. It showed a simple document with a title that made every alien in the room feel cold inside. The title was Earth's Plan for Galactic Peace and Mandatory Friendship. The politeness phase of human diplomacy has officially ended, David announced to the whole room. We now begin what our people call aggressive helpfulness. We are going to help all of you become better neighbors, whether you want our help or... Oh. Commander Vex looked around the room desperately, hoping some other alien would help him. But every other alien was too busy staring at the humans in shock and fear. This is not possible, Commander Vex whispered. No one species can control the entire galaxy. David looked at him with what seemed like genuine sadness. Commander, we do not want to control the galaxy. We just want to help it become a nicer place. The countdown timer reached 18 hours, 42 minutes, and 50 seconds. Any questions? David asked cheerfully. Nobody had any questions. They were all too scared to ask. As the countdown timer got closer to 8 hours, something very strange started happening all across the galaxy. Every Drakmor military base, every secret weapon facility, Every fortified planet belonging to the Drakmor Empire suddenly received the same message. It was not an attack or a threat. It was an invitation. The messages were all exactly the same, written in perfect Drakmor military language, and each one was personally addressed to individual commanders. Hello from Earth Strategic. Command, you are invited to watch a demonstration of human diplomatic alternatives. Location coordinates are attached. Snacks and drinks will be provided. Please let us know if you are coming. Signed, Admiral Sarah Kane, Human Defense Initiative. In the meeting room, the tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Commander Vex had been trying to talk to his fleet all day, but his messages were getting more and more desperate. The other alien leaders were frantically trying to contact their own militaries. Queen Zara of the Bug People had asked for a break from the meeting 3 times, but David had politely said no each time. The time for breaks is over, David explained kindly. Dr. Wilson, would you please show our friends where the Drakmor forces are right now? The big screen changed to show the whole galaxy in real time. All the Drakmor ships were highlighted in red. Their huge fleet, spread across dozens of star systems, looked very impressive. Then the screen added Earth's forces in blue. Every alien in the room gasped at the same time. Those numbers cannot be real, said Ambassador Vorin from the Trader Federation. His voice was shaking. Our intelligence reports say humans have maybe 12 fighting ships. Oh, those? Captain Moore laughed, but the sound was more scary than funny. Those are our mail delivery ships. We did not want to be rude by bringing our real military to peace talks. Dr. Wilson pointed at the screen, where blue dots outnumbered red dots by so many that it hurt to look at. The ships you are seeing are not our fleet, Ambassador Vorin. They are our security guards. Commander Vex's long arms were shaking as he stared at the screen. This is a trick. No species could hide so many ships. Hide them? David looked genuinely confused. Commander, we never hid anything. Did you never wonder why? In 3 years, have your threats and demands, not one human colony ever called Earth and asked for military protection? The countdown timer showed 8 hours, 42 minutes, and 17 seconds. They did not need to ask, David continued in a normal conversation voice. Protection was already there. The screen changed again. This time it showed real pictures from space around, human colonies. The colonies looked peaceful and quiet, with just a few small ships flying around. But then the picture changed to show what was really there. Hidden around every human world were thousands of ships, invisible until the special cameras revealed them. We call them Guardian fleets, Captain Moore explained. Every human world has had one since we first started traveling to the stars. We just did not mention them because it seemed rude to brag. Queen Zara of the Bug People made a clicking sound with her mouth. In her species, this meant extreme shock. How many Guardian fleets do you have? Dr. Wilson checked his computer. Currently, we have Guardian fleets protecting 437 human colonies, plus mobile fleets protecting our trading routes, plus rapid response fleets for emergencies, plus our home defense fleet around Earth, Captain Moore added. That one is a bit bigger than the others. Commander Vex stood up suddenly, his chair falling over behind him. This is impossible. Our spies would have detected such a massive military presence. Commander, David said gently, your spies detected exactly what we wanted them to detect. We are very good at being helpful, remember? We helped your spies see only the ships we wanted them to see. The countdown timer reached 8 hours, 41 minutes, and 55 seconds. Admiral Sarah Kane suddenly appeared as a hologram in the middle of the room. She was an older human woman with gray hair and kind eyes. She wore a simple military uniform and looked like somebody's grandmother. But when she spoke, her voice carried the weight of someone who commanded the most powerful military force in the galaxy. Good day, everyone, Admiral Kane said politely. I hope you are all having a pleasant meeting. Commander Vex pointed one of his shaking arms at her. You are the one sending those messages to my commanders. Indeed I am, Admiral, Kane replied with a sweet smile. I wanted to make sure they all had front row seats for the demonstration. It would be rude not to invite them. What demonstration? Commander Vex demanded. Admiral Kane's smile got a little wider. Why, Commander, we are going to demonstrate what happens when humans stop being polite and start being helpful. Dr. Wilson activated another display. This one showed a simple list titled, Earth's Helpful Suggestions for Galactic Peace. The list was very long. As you can see, Admiral Kane said, we have prepared a comprehensive plan for helping the Drakmor Empire become better neighbors. Item 1. Immediate withdrawal from all occupied territories. Item 2. Return of all stolen resources. Item 3. Public apologies to all affected species. And if we refuse? Commander Vex asked, but his voice was very small now. Admiral Kane looked at him with the patient expression of a teacher explaining something to a slow student. Oh, Commander, refusing is not really an option anymore. You see, for the past 3 years, while you have been making threats and demands, we have been very quietly mapping every Drakmor world, every military base, every supply depot. The screen changed to show incredibly detailed maps of Drakmor space. Every planet, every space station, every ship was marked and labeled. We know where your children go to school, Commander, Admiral Kane continued in her sweet grandmother voice. We know which hospitals treat your sick people. We know where you keep your art and your history books. We know where your leaders sleep at night. The room became so quiet that you could hear aliens breathing. Now we are not going to hurt any of these places, Admiral Kane said quickly. That would be very mean. Instead, we are going to protect them from you. What does that mean? Commander Vex whispered. David stepped forward, his diplomatic smile returning. It means, Commander, that your government, your military, your entire command structure is going to find that every order you give from now on will be reviewed by humans first. We want to make sure you only give orders that are helpful and nice. The countdown timer showed 8 hours, 40 minutes, and 30 seconds. We are going to help you become the kind of neighbors that everyone likes. Captain Moore added cheerfully, whether you want our help or not. Commander Vex looked around the room desperately. This is tyranny. This is conquest. Someone must stop them. But every other alien in the room was staring at the humans with a mixture of fear and amazement. They were all starting to understand that Earth had never been the weak newcomer that needed protection. Earth had been the sleeping giant that could protect everyone else. Any questions about our helpful suggestions? David asked the room. Nobody had any questions. They were all too busy trying to figure out how their understanding of the galaxy had been so completely wrong. The countdown timer continued. 8 hours, 39 minutes, 45 seconds. And everyone knew that when it reached 0, the age of human politeness would officially be over. The demonstration began at exactly 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 0 seconds on the countdown timer. Across 37 star systems at the same time, Drakmor military bases found themselves politely surrounded by human ships that had appeared without setting off a single alarm. In the meeting room, live video feeds showed not destruction, but something far more frightening to military commanders. Perfect, surgical precision. Drakmor weapons did not explode, they simply stopped working. Communication arrays were not destroyed. They were reprogrammed to play human music. Shield generators were not broken. They were changed to project pictures of Earth's cutest baby. Animals. Commander Vex watched in horror as his flagship's main cannon was carefully taken apart by human engineering robots. Each piece was labeled, cataloged, and gift-wrapped before being placed in the ship's storage room with a note that said, "Thank you for letting us help make your ship safer." "What are you doing to my fleet?" he whispered. Admiral Kane's hologram flickered with what might have been amusement. "Why, Commander, we are following the rules of nice fighting. We are being as polite as possible while making sure you can never threaten innocent people again." On the screens around the room, they could see human ships working with incredible efficiency. Drakmor weapon systems were being carefully removed and replaced with emergency medical equipment. Military communication systems were being updated to only allow messages about peaceful topics like weather reports and birthday wishes. "This is not possible," Commander Vex said weakly. "How did you get so close to our ships without being detected?" Captain Moore smiled. "Commander, we have been close to your ships for 3 years. We have been following every Drakmor vessel since you first threatened a human colony. We just waited until now to say hello. Dr. Wilson pointed to one of the screens showing a Drakmor battleship. Human workers were painting bright, cheerful colors on its hull and adding decorative flowers. We thought it would be nice to make your ships more friendly looking, he explained. David stepped forward, his diplomatic smile returning with new and terrifying implications. Commander Vex, Earth's position in these negotiations has been fundamentally changed. The Drakmor Empire will immediately withdraw from all occupied territories, provide compensation to affected species, and submit to galactic justice tribunals. And if we refuse, Commander Vex managed to ask. Admiral Kane's hologram sparkled with grandmother-like patience. Oh, Commander, you are not going to refuse. You see, for the past 3 years, while you were making demands and threats, we were very quietly learning everything about every Drakmor world. New images appeared on the screens. They showed Drakmor cities, schools, hospitals, and cultural centers. But now each location had a small blue dot nearby, indicating human presence. We are not going to destroy them, Admiral Kane said in her sweet voice. We are going to protect them. From you. Your government, your military, your entire command structure will find that every order you give from now on will be reviewed by human supervisors. You cannot do this, Commander Vex protested. This is conquest. This is slavery. Oh no, David said, looking genuinely hurt by the suggestion. This is customer service. You see, Commander, the galaxy is our neighborhood now, and we take very good care of our neighbors. On the screens, they could see the results of human customer service in action. Drakmor soldiers were being escorted to comfortable rooms where they were being served Earth food and given educational materials about conflict resolution. Drakmor weapons were being converted into farming equipment and medical devices. But this is humiliating, Commander Vex said, tears starting to form in his red eyes. It is supposed to be, Captain Moore said gently. Humiliation is much better than extinction, Commander. We could have simply destroyed your entire empire in about 20 minutes. Instead, we chose to help you become better people. Dr. Wilson activated a final display, a simple document titled, Earth's Terms for Galactic Peace. The terms were surprisingly reasonable, but they were also completely non-negotiable. The politeness phase of human diplomacy has officially concluded, David announced to the entire chamber. We now move to what our species calls aggressive customer service. We are going to help all of you become better neighbors, whether you want our help or not. Ambassador Thyra of the Crystal People raised a shaking hand. What about the rest of us? What happens to species that have not threatened Earth? Admiral Kane's hologram turned to her with a warm smile. Oh, Ambassador Thyra, nothing bad will happen to you. In fact, things are going to get much better. You see, with the Drakmor Empire under human supervision, there will be no more galactic bullies. No more species threatening others for tribute. No more genocide of peaceful worlds. We are going to help everyone get along, David added cheerfully. We will mediate disputes, provide protection for weak species, and make sure everyone follows the rules of being nice to each other. Queen Zara of the Bug People clicked nervously. And if some species do not want this help? Captain Moore's smile somehow managed to be both kind and absolutely terrifying. Queen Zara, that is the wonderful thing about human customer service. It is mandatory. Commander Vex collapsed into his chair, all the fight gone out of him. Around the chamber, representatives from hundreds of species stared at the humans with new understanding. Earth had not been hiding its military might. Earth had been politely pretending they needed to negotiate at all. You have been planning this from the beginning, Commander Vex said quietly. Not planning, David corrected gently, hoping we would not need to. You see, Commander, humans really do prefer to be nice. We really do want to solve problems by talking, but when someone hurts innocent people, when someone kills children and families just to prove a point, when someone thinks they can push others around because they are big and strong. David paused, his smile becoming genuinely sad. Well, that is when humans stop being nice and start being helpful. The screens around the room now showed a completely different galaxy. Drakmor ships were being converted into hospital ships and supply vessels. Drakmor military bases were becoming schools and community centers. The entire Drakmor war machine was being systematically transformed into a force for helping others, instead of hurting them. The galaxy is now under human customer service protection, Admiral Kane announced officially. All species are free to live, trade, and explore in peace. Any attempts to return to the old ways of conquest and bullying will be met with immediate and overwhelming helpfulness. This is not freedom, Commander Vex said weakly. No, David agreed sadly. But it is much better than what you were offering. And maybe, in a few hundred years, when everyone has learned to be nice to each other, we can try freedom again. Admiral Kane's hologram began to fade. Remember, everyone, human customer service representatives are now stationed in every star system. If you need help with anything, just ask. We are always happy to help. The meeting room was completely silent except for the gentle humming of air recyclers. Every alien in the room was trying to understand how their entire understanding of galactic politics had been turned upside down in just a few days. Any questions? David asked one final time, his diplomatic smile bright and cheerful. There were no questions. Everyone was too busy trying to figure out how to live in a galaxy where humans were in charge of making sure everyone was nice to each other. And in the end, most of them decided that maybe that was not such a bad thing. After all. The age of human politeness was over. The age of human helpfulness had begun. And the galaxy would never be the same again.